Hello everybody, it's your good friend Tails the Fox here, and today we are going to be doing episode 2 of Ask the Sonic Heroes, which is featuring me today, and I am going to answer all your guys' questions. Most of them, if I don't get to your question, I deeply apologize. I chose 10 questions for this episode, so if your question isn't in here, I deeply apologize. I chose usually the ones that hasn't gotten an answer from a character yet, like with Sonic's episode. If those same people asked a question for me, there's a good chance I didn't pick it because you guys have already asked a question for my buddy Sonic. So I chose questions that hasn't gotten an answer from a character yet. So I chose 10 random questions. I'm going to answer them as best as I can for you all. But if you guys want to see more Q&A videos like this, please give it a like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you want to see more from the Blue Blur 360. The next episode, episode 3, will feature Knuckles next, so if you have any questions for Knuckles, post them down below in the comments, or just wait for the next community post about the next Q&A video. Without further ado, I'm going to go right into these questions. I hope you guys enjoy it. Okay, the first question is from @Rafazari8066. Hi Tails the Fox, and can I ask you that how did you get yourself captured by the Deadly Six in Sonic Lost World and became a cyborg? Now, if you guys haven't played Sonic Lost World or even seen cutscenes on YouTube and all that stuff about Sonic Lost World, go look it up, go check it out. Sonic Lost World is not the greatest game, I will admit. It's not good and it's not bad either. It's okay enough. It's just, that's not saying a lot. But if you guys don't remember, Sonic, if you guys don't know, Sonic is too quick to think. He jumps into situations without even thinking about it. So he saw one of those capsules that the animals get trapped in our games. He saw those and he's like, it looks like I missed one. He ran without even thinking, and I'm like, Sonic, it's a trap! And then I jumped in and pushed him out of the way, and that's kind of how I got captured, because the trap was one of those animal, capsules that we have in our games. So I pushed him out of the way, and I got trapped, and I pretty much sacrificed myself for my best friends. So Sonic is way too quick to think. He doesn't even think. He just goes. He just does it. And he doesn't even think. So I knew he was going to do that, so I pushed him out of the way, and I sacrificed myself and got myself captured because of Sonic. And I would do it for Sonic in a heartbeat, but you know Sonic, he's too quick to even think. He just does it without even thinking about it. So that happened, and then the becoming the cyborg situation, I didn't really become a cyborg. I mean, I was originally supposed to, because the Deadly Six was going to turn me into one. But I reprogrammed the system and all that stuff so I don't get brainwashed or get physically turned into a cyborg. I had the pieces and all that stuff, but that's just a disguise and all that stuff. I can easily take that off. But I didn't really get turned into a cyborg because I reprogrammed it and everything just so I don't get physically turned into one. But the whole disguise and all that stuff was pretty much easy to take off and all that. So yes, I got turned into a cyborg, but also no, because I didn't have the mind of a cyborg and I didn't physically get turned into one. But yeah, that's the whole thing. So if you haven't seen Sonic Lost World cutscenes or all that stuff, go look it up. Sonic Lost World, like I said, it's not the greatest game, but it's not a bad game. It's in the middle of like an game. Like it's okay enough. But that's not saying a lot either. But thank you for your question. That was a very good question. Okay, the next question is from @GoldenVampiricorn001. I am so sorry if I'm butchering that. To Tails, what happens if Sonic is captured by Infinite? Will you use his Chaos Emeralds to become super, or become a werehog using the Dark Gaia energy to fight Infinite? Ooh, good question. So with the Chaos Emeralds, you boost up your strength and your power. But the downfall of that is that it's limited, so I only can use it for a short amount of time. As for the Dark Gaia energy, if I get turned into a werefox, it does have its downfalls as well. Like, just like with Super, you boost up your strength and all that. But it doesn't have as much power as it does with the Chaos Emeralds and you get turned into Super and all that. Because just like with Sonic, Sonic loses his speed when he uses the Dark Gaia energy and gets turned into the Werehog. As for me, I feel like if I get turned into a Werefox using the Dark Gaia energy, I feel like it's gonna limit my ability to fly, because if you use the Dark Gaia energy, you're gonna lose something. You're gonna lose some kind of ability and all that stuff, just like with Sonic with his speed. I feel like I'm gonna lose my ability to fly, and flying is a big part of me. So, and I need to fly Sonic everywhere to places, so that's gonna be hard. But with the Chaos Emeralds, I can fly. Even without my tails, I can fly as Super if I had to, but it would probably be easier just to fly with my 2 tails. So I think the more power has to go with the Chaos Emeralds rather than the Dark Gaia energy, because the Dark Gaia energy has its limits, like it has its downfalls. Just a little bit more than the Chaos Emeralds. So I might have to go with the Chaos Emeralds. I feel like the Chaos Emeralds has way more power than the Dark Gaia energy, so I might have to go with the Chaos Emeralds on this one. It just has way too much power, just comparing that to the Dark Gaia energy. I just think it has a little bit more. But thank you for your question. That's a really good question. I would like to be turned into a Werefox, but at the same time I don't, because I don't want to see what limits my power, what limits who I am, all that stuff. Because just like with Sonic, he loses his speed and all that stuff, and I can't picture myself losing my flying ability. It just, I would not be happy with it. So we're gonna go with the Chaos Emeralds on that one. This question is from @ZoneYoshi2001. 2 Tails, do you like Sonic as your best buddy? Well, what do you think? No, I'm kidding. Yes, of course, Sonic has been my best buddy ever since we've met. Ever since my first introduction to the Sonic franchise, I've just been so close to Sonic ever since. We're like brothers at this point. We stick together till the end. That's our motto. We stick together till the end. No one gets left behind, all that. Me and Sonic are pretty much like brothers at this point. We stick together, we stick by each other till the very end. We don't leave people behind, we don't leave each other behind, all that. We've just been close for so many years, so many decades. Not counting the first Sonic game, it's been like, what, 30 years? Because I know Sonic is 32 right now, so I've just, for so many years, we've known each other. It's just been, our bond and our friendship has just gotten closer and closer throughout the years. So yes, of course, I love Sonic as my best buddy. He's like a big brother to me, pretty much. So, Sonic, if you're watching this video, I love you, bro. But yes, thank you for your question. @Sonic-Friends997 asks, how close are you and Sonic, and do you see Sonic as your brother or as a good friend? Well, this is kind of similar to the last question I answered, but just to put it simply, I see Sonic as my big brother. I do not see him as just a friend, I see him as a brother. We've just been so close throughout the years that we just become brothers at this point. It's just, that's how close our relationship is. We just see each other more as brothers, as good friends. Maybe in the beginning, Sonic saw me as like just a sidekick and just a friend maybe, but as the years go on, me and Sonic got just closer and closer throughout all of our adventures, all of our journeys, just how strong our relationship has gone throughout the years. And our development, our relationship has developed throughout so many years and all that, so I just think we're just more as brothers at this point, not just as a friend. That's just, it's an easy question. I just see Sonic more as a big brother than just a friend to me, and I'm sure he thinks the same way. He thinks as me as a little brother than a good friend. But thank you for the question. Yeah, we're so close that we become brothers at this point. @MyLinaireBala9518, I am so sorry if I'm butchering that, says, Tails, are you scared of thunder? Sorry if you don't like answering this. This is perfectly fine. Yes, I am still terrified with thunder. Lightning also, but just not as much. I just think that thunder is a little bit more intense than lightning, because thunder, you hear loud noises coming from outside, and lightning, you see flashes, but that's pretty much it. The both of them are pretty scary, but thunder is loud, and you would not like to hear that, especially if you're a kid like me. It's terrifying. If you guys don't know, before I met Sonic, I lived outdoors. I didn't have my family with me. I was pretty much living alone outdoors, so I had to deal with bad weather and all that. So I had to deal with thunderstorms a lot when I'm outside. And it wasn't fun because when I had to deal with my first thunderstorm, if I remember, it made me jump, and it made me want to stay hidden away from like outdoors and all that stuff. Like I had to try to hibernate in some way, like in caves or in tunnels and all that stuff, and try to find shelter all the time. And where I was living in the woods, there wasn't a lot of shelter for a fox. There wasn't hardly any caves or tunnels or anything like that in the woods. But I try to find shelter as much as I can to stay dry. But when you hear loud thunder, you can't help but jump. You can't help but jump, and it terrifies you, especially if you're a kid. And I lived alone, so I didn't have my parents with me. I didn't have Sonic with me at the time. But when I did meet Sonic, it just made me feel a whole lot better. It made me feel a whole lot more safe when I'm with Sonic. Sonic made me feel like I don't have to be afraid of thunder as I used to. Yeah, I just had a terrible childhood. I just had to deal with bad weather at times, and I had to deal with bullies who teased me for my two tails, all that. Like I had a rough childhood, but when I met Sonic, it turned my life around and made my life a little bit more happier, and it made me be the person I am today, or in this sentence, a fox. You know, I've turned into a much mature fox and more braver fox than I ever was when I was living out on my own. That's why I want to try to go on my own adventures one day in the future and not have to rely on Sonic all the time. It just makes me feel like more confident, if that makes sense. When I was with Sonic, I had to rely on him a lot, and I don't want to do that when I get older. So I want to try to go on my own journeys in the future, and I feel like I should do that. You know, bring my tornado along and just fly across the world, and you know, go on my own adventures one day, and not to have to rely on my big brother on everything. But to answer your question, yes, I'm still scared of thunder, just not as much as I used to. But good question. Thank you for your question. At Austin5019 says, Two Tails, what is one of your favorite things about Sonic? Sonic was just my biggest inspiration. He's been like that since the first day I met him. That was one of my major things I adored about Sonic, is that he was my biggest inspiration. Like the first day I saw Sonic running super fast in the woods at my home and all that, I took one good glimpse of him and I'm already like, that's my inspiration. That's who I want to be when I grow up. I want to be just like Sonic the Hedgehog. And then I saw his plane just sitting there, and I wanted to fix it for him, and then he took one good glimpse of me, and I was so scared because I'm so used to bullies teasing me and picking on me for who I am. And then Sonic just straight up saying, I like you, do you want to be my sidekick? And I'm like, yes, I want to be your sidekick. You're my biggest inspiration. And you know, he liked me for who I am, and I adore that, and I'm inspired by that. It's just who he is. Yes, he can be egotistical, but that's who he is. And he's not all that. He's very inspiring, very, very motivational. He showed me that I can live life to the fullest and not have to worry about everything. You know, live in the now and not the future, if that makes sense. Like, he took me under his wing. He showed me that I can be myself without thinking about haters and all that stuff, because my biggest insecurity before meeting Sonic was showing my two tails and my love for inventions. It's, you know, it was my biggest insecurity. You know, bullies made fun of me for all that and for being a freak because I have two tails, and it was a rough childhood, but Sonic has changed my life for the better. You know, he showed me to embrace it rather than hide it, you know, because he told me that he was a freak too. You know, he got made fun of, and he got made fun of for his speed and all that stuff, and He told me just to embrace it because that's what makes you unique. That's what makes you special, and that's what he's always told me. And I am inspired by that. It's just, he's been such a good caretaker. He's just, he was like, he's like a big brother. Like I said, like a million times on this video, he's like my big brother, and I love him to death. And he was a good caretaker as well. Like, I didn't have my parents around. I was like stranded alone, nowhere to go, living in the woods. Like, he took me in and he took me under his wing and made me his sidekick, and now we're just good brothers. Like, it's a whole thing. But yeah, my one major thing is that he was really inspiring to me. He's been like that since day one. He's just so inspiring, and honestly, he still is. Like, he has his issues and he has his problems, but you know, no one's perfect. Thank you for the question, Austin. Me and Sonic are very, very close, and one of the biggest things I adore about Sonic is that he was my biggest inspiration since day one, and I will always love him for turning me into the fox I am. So thank you for your question. That is a really good question. At Kodakai_does_music says, Two Tails, how long were you and Sonic best friends? Also, I used to be a fan of the franchise, and I stopped, but now I'm back to being a Sonic fan. I love the channel and its content, and I'm looking forward to more of it. Thank you so much, and I'm glad you're back to the fandom or the franchise. I know the franchise has become a little bit more relevant now since, you know, the movies kind of boosted our franchise a little bit more, I will be honest, but I'm glad there's some old fans that are returning, so I'm really glad, and I'm really happy. But back to your question, me and Sonic has been friends for a long time, I will tell you that. So I was first introduced in Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and the first Sonic the Hedgehog game is, 32 years old, and Sonic is 32, so I would say around 31 to 30 years. Me and Sonic has been best friends ever since. We've been friends for a long time, I will admit. It's crazy. It's very crazy. Me and Sonic has grown so much since we first met each other. It's insane to me. But we've been friends for a bit. It's been a long time, but our friendship has just grown since then. And like I said, we've become brothers at this point. We've just grown a huge bond, brotherly relationship that we have, that we looked out for each other ever since, and it's crazy. But yeah, it's been a long time, I will tell you that. There's a lot of questions for me when it comes to Sonic. Like, you guys are asking me so many Sonic questions. It's crazy. Sonic is my big brother. I love him to death, and I would not change that for the world. He is always going to be my big brother. That's never going to change. But I appreciate all these questions about me and Sonic's friendship. It's crazy to me, but thank you for your question. At Blitz_Blazer says, Two Tails, what's your opinion on your Sonic Prime variants? I absolutely adore them. I love my variants in Sonic Prime. They're adorable like me, but straight off the bat, my favorite has got to be 9. 9 is clearly my favorite just because he has the most character arc in the show, and he had such an evil role in the show as well. It's an evil version of me. What's not to like about him? He's like the complete opposite of me. It's crazy. It's like, if I haven't met Sonic, I feel like I would have been turned into 9 for sure. Without Sonic, I probably would have been a 9 for sure. Because I used to be alone before I met Sonic. If I didn't meet Sonic and I was still alone, I would have definitely turned into 9 if it wasn't for Sonic. But 9 is just cool looking. I love its design. It just having 9 tails is sick and cool and awesome. I do like Manji and I do like Sails as well. They're fine. They just don't have much of a role in the show, so it's kind of hard to just really give an opinion about them. Manji is cute. All he does is kind of just grunt and grunt all that stuff and do a bunch of like like stuff like that. It's stuff I probably didn't even do it as good as Manji does himself, but he's pretty much a wild animal. That's what Manji is. And Sails is Sails. He's pretty much like me, but just who's a pirate. That's pretty much it. Sails is probably the closest one of me. He's just a pirate. That's pretty much all he is. But they're all cool. They're all cool looking. All variants in Sonic Prime are cool looking. I know this is not part of the question, but I do like Rusty Rose, and I do like Dread. I like a lot of variants in the show. I like their designs. They're just really cool looking to me. But yeah, 9 is my favorite, but all the variants of me in Sonic Prime are really cool looking. I like their designs. So yeah, just that's to answer your question. They're really cool looking. I really like them. But thank you for your question. At Furry Cheetah, love the name, says, Two Tails, do you still remember your parents and what they look like? Sadly, not really. I'm sure like there's different versions of me in the universe, different versions of Tails and all that. I'm sure Archie Tails, like in the comments, will probably remember, because I know my parents show up in comics at times. But since I'm like the game version of myself, I don't really remember my parents much. Like I said, I lived alone in the woods since I was pretty much a baby. I just had to survive on my own without my parents. So it's really hard to tell you what they look like. I wish I can give you more info, but I can't. It's really hard. All I remember really is my dad was really tall, and my mom was pretty short, and that's pretty much it. From what I've heard from people and all that stuff that knew my parents around the woods area, they've been telling me that I look more like my dad when it comes to looks, and then like with personality and stuff, I'm like my mom. It's really hard to explain. It's just, I wish I can give you more info, but that's pretty much all I can give you. I lived out on my own throughout most of my life, pretty much, so without my parents, so it's kind of hard to describe them, but that's all I got the information from when it came to my parents. It's just that's all I heard from other people around the woods who knew my parents, is that looks wise I'm more like my dad, but personality wise I look like my mom. It's just how it is. But thank you for your question. I wish I can give you more, but unfortunately I can hardly remember my parents, so I appreciate the question. Okay, the last question is from @SnowyVoid Productions XX. Two Tails, how exactly do you come up with your inventions? Is there a thought process, or do you just come up with them on the fly? There's a thought process, because if I do it on the fly like that, like just do it without thinking or anything like that, I am gonna screw up. I need a thought process before I just invent something. You know, I need blueprints, I need paper to write down what I need, like parts and tools and all that. There's definitely a thought process. I don't do it just on the fly, because I will screw up. Just because I'm really good with inventing doesn't mean I won't screw up. I will screw up for sure. So there is definitely a thought process. I think about what I want to build first, and then I write down what I need, and then I write down what I need, like parts and stuff like that, on the blueprint, and see where I can fit in place with them. Because like I said, I will screw up. Like inventors need to think about it before inventing. That's the major one rule, is that you have to think about it, you have to write it down on a blueprint and all that stuff before actually inventing, if that makes sense. I don't do it on the fly. I'm sure there's certain inventors that does, but for me, as the smart inventor I am, and I think about this the smart way, I plan it first before going on into inventing what I want to invent. It's so much easier, and you can think about it a lot more if you write it down. I can't do it on the fly. It takes a lot of thought process. But thank you for your question. I'm sure there's inventors who do that, but I don't do that. Tails the Fox does not do that. I have to think about it first. But thank you so much for your question. And there you guys have it. I have answered all 10 questions for episode 2 of Ask the Sonic Heroes. Like I said, I deeply apologize if I did not get to your question. Sonic's video in the first episode of Ask the Sonic Heroes was very, very long, around I think it was around 48 minutes, maybe close to 50. It was very long, and I feel like there's just so many questions that we just had to limit them down a little bit. So we decided to just do 10 questions for each episode. So I decided to pick out the questions that has not been featured in a video yet, so that's what I tried to do, and I think that's what we're going to do for now on in the series. If it's all the same person and there's no new people or anything like that, we will grab the same people and feature them in a video in the future, so don't worry about that. We just want to try to get the people that has not been featured in a video first before we read questions from people who has been in a previous video or episode, if that makes sense. But I appreciate all your guys' questions. Thank you guys so much. Episode 3 will be Knuckles, my best buddy, Knuckles the Echidna. So if you guys have questions for him, post them down below in the comments, or wait for the community tab, or just wait for the announcement video for episode 3. Your choice. But thank you guys so much. If you guys want to see more videos from us, please give it a like, comment, subscribe, if you want to see more from the Blue Blur 360. Without further ado, this is me, Tails the Fox, signing off. Goodbye, and I'll see you inventors later. Take care, everyone.